Reverend Patrina White McClure. I'm so excited that you have decided to join us on this show. And even if you watch us after we air, we do so appreciate the time you will have invested to listen to our show's content on today. Before I introduce our very special guest, I want to let you know that WCEG Digital Media Enterprises is a 501c3 nonprofit community radio station. So if you're looking for a place to sow a seed, please give us a call at 404-490-8646, and we'll start you on your journey. As well, please know that the comments on today's show are those of our host, myself, and our very special guest, and they are no reflection on WCEG Digital Media Enterprises. You may follow us for free, or like they say, free 99 on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Twitch, Roku TV, Apple TV, a whole bunch of places. Just Google us or go to our website at www.wcegtalkradio.com, and you'll find out all the various platforms that you can view all of our shows contents on there. As well, familiarize yourself with what's on our website. There's something for everyone. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you our very, very special guest, Mr. Travis Hall. Mr. Hall, thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of today's show. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. Very glad to be here.
Oh, and we're just as glad and grateful. Thank you for meeting. This is our first time getting to meet each other. And it's always interesting to meet someone digitally or by Zoom, Facebook, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
And then when you finally meet one another in person, that just adds a special touch. But can you introduce yourself? What do you want our viewers to know in the Church Biz audience about Travis Hall?
My name's Travis Hall. I'm an Atlanta native, a professional opera singer as well, and most recently a soul R&B secular music artist. But a lot of people say my songs sound. A lot of people say they sound like gospel songs, or I sound like a gospel artist, which is interesting. So yeah, my songs. I write songs about love, love loss, and hope for love again, spreading positivity and bringing people together.
Beautiful, because there are different stages to love life. And
Mm,
people think once they get with someone that they're going to stay with them forever, although that's a desired goal. But in the beginning of a love relationship, where you get the heart sick emotions and thinking of somebody all the time,
good
the heart
time.
palpitations, all of
Mm,
that. And there is medical science beside to support all of that, where
mm,
your body temperature increases whenever you're, passionate about another person. But
mm.
one of the things is that relationships don't always last. And we have to learn from that we are developing skill sets so that when we get with the one that God has ordained for us to be with, okay,
Hey.
we can make the thing work.
Listen, you got to
Yeah,
do the work.
exactly, exactly. And what are some of the things that you've learned in your love relationships to make it work?
Ooh, I like that. That's a juicy question. So, I've been in four past relationships total. Um, four past relationships, and I've learned a lot of lessons from each one. But going forward, my priorities are making sure we're equally yoked. So I can't get with you and try to create make you into what I want you to be. If you're not already there with my non-negotiables,
Mm.
then we're not equally yoked. And that's it. I can't build you. I can't force you to be something you're not. So biggest thing for me. Also, and then a list of other things, making sure you've done the personal work. You can acknowledge your own faults in past relationships so that I know that you've been working, that it's not always blaming, other people. Just, a myriad of things. Ambition, some type of spiritual relationship, no matter what it is, just it's a whole bunch of things. It's a long list of things, but that's the biggest thing I've learned for me going forward. Making sure that I'm not, I'm dating for where I am and what I desire. If you're not what I desire, no conversation.
You know, and you said so much there, so much that the church needs to hear about being equally yoked. Now, a lot of people in the church understand being equally yoked is he's a Christian, I'm a Christian, we're moving forward. And that's
Hmm.
not it.
It's not sufficient.
Right. Because we all are at different places in our own faith journeys. And so, if one is pursuing purpose and the other isn't, you're already
Mm.
unequally yoked, even though you both could be Christian. If one desires to grow in the Lord and the other is just happy to be a part of the kingdom and they're not trying to grow,
Okay.
uh-huh, they're just being a basic Christian,
Mm.
uh, you're unequally yoked. When the Bible clearly shows us that as we are being developed in the image of Christ,
Mm.
growth is required. It's necessary. If we're not growing in our own individual faith walks, something is already wrong.
Something's wrong.
Yeah. And I like how you said that about being equally yoked because Paul tells us to be equally yoked. So I'm glad that you learned about that prior to making that marital commitment saying I do and all of that,
Mm.
because the percentages our marriage is close to 60%, at a 60% divorce rate. Throw
Well,
in faith and then being unequally yoked, that you're
it's
already
disaster.
preparing. There you go. But you mentioned something critical. You like write songs including non-negotiables. Am I understanding that? Mentioning the
Yes.
non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables.
Beautiful, beautiful, because people need to hear that, especially us in the kingdom. You know, we need to understand that it's okay that we actually abuse grace when we keep giving people chance after chance after,
Chance
even
after
though
chance.
God does it to us, but we have to know when we have to draw the line in the
Mine.
sand, if you will, because then we end up in abusive situations. Do you cover that in your music as well? People
No
in
abuse.
abused relationships?
Not yet, but
Okay.
I'm writing for the second album, and so maybe that'll be on there. So
Okay.
abusive relationships, but there's a lot of that. I feel like a lot of people I know, a lot of relationships I observe are abusive relationships, um, and I think even within the church that can creep in, or within Christianity. Um, a lot of times, I was having a conversation with my friend last night. She goes to church a lot, and I forgot what church she goes to. Don't kill me, she'll kill me. But but we were talking about how she's dated some pastors, and how you know sometimes she'll date pastors and they don't listen to her, or they don't, because she's a woman, and they don't acknowledge the things that she says or acknowledge her boundaries. Um, and I was like, you gotta let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree because, again, we're at different points in our faith walks, but also we have that men are from Mars and women are from
We're
Venus
from Venus.
type of mindsets that are clashing. Then we got our own different histories. All of this stuff comes into play in relationship.
Ships.
And then a pastor, that's just a different dynamic,
And
because pastors are always called upon to know. They're always called upon to guide and direct and to teach. So they can develop an ear to stop listening subliminally, subconsciously,
mm,
without realizing that they stopped listening.
listening.
And that can, yes, that I could see how that impacts a relationship negatively, because communication makes every type of relationship work, whether it's
It's key.
romantic, the dating, the professional, the personal, the public. Communication
Nation.
is key. It's in the word. The principle there is in the word of
Mm,
God, where we got Jesus is calling us to pray. He always prayed to the Father. The Paul tells us to pray over our. We got to keep on praying.
okay.
That's
That
a form
relationship.
of communion, right?
Hmm.
So it means talk, but if you talking, you got to automatically listen in order for effective communication to take place. So I can understand your friend's frustration.
Yeah.
You talk about those particular things as well?
No. You're giving me a whole bunch of writing things to write about. I write about, what have I written about primarily? Love, the the period of the beginning of the relationship when you love, 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 and everything is positive. I talk about love that takes a turn, that fleeting love, that's nice, but it's fleeting. I discuss memories of love, of a
Mm,
past relationship, where things remind you of a past partner or a past relationship. Like I had and I wrote that song because one of my exes, they hated mushrooms. But then after the relationship, every time I would see mushrooms in a restaurant, I was like, oh, they don't like mushrooms. Or every time I would see a challenger, I would think, is that them? So it's like there's still people still remain a part of you a little bit,
yes.
even after um, you've disconnected or you no longer are loving each other. I mean, there's still love, but
Or
after the relationship.
has ended in that particular facet. There's a song that Usher has out with Summer Walker, and they're
Mm-hmm.
both Atlanta natives, and it's talking about good good. That's the name of the song, good good. And yes,
Mm.
I hear secular music. Yes, I'm a
She
preacher.
said, "I know about it."
Yeah. And because people I'm around, they play it, so I hear it. My
Mm.
ears don't stop working.
Working.
And so one thing I like about that song is, the relationship didn't go the way we planned it, is what the message is. But we don't have to end as enemies. We're still good. you know it's all good, but we're still good.
Good.
And
Mm.
I appreciate that message, because just because a relationship ends doesn't mean it needs to end on a bad note. It might not be, like you pointed to at the beginning, be equally yoked.
Yoked.
Okay. And so these things happen, but what we should get out of our learning experience is what we like and what we don't like in a
Yeah.
partner. And like you said, developing the non negotiables and putting your foot down on there, because that person is going to have non negotiables.
Hmm.
So, but you hit on another critical point. There are abusive relationships in the church. So I'm sure you hear about these stories. Being a artist, people
Hmm.
are coming, they're pouring their hearts out to you. this is what I'm going through. Besides your friend, I know it's others.
That's my friend.
And they're saying, I'm going through this, I can't take it, I'm tripping, blah, 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 blah. And do you form a basis of a song in order to pass that message along to everybody
Mm.
what you want to say?
You know, a lot of times I do. I write other people's stories. I hate to say that out loud, but I do. Like I think of myself as a storyteller, songwriter
Yeah.
first. So I've been at work before as a server, and a coworker will be telling me about someone they're dating, and I'm like, okay, well, and how did that make like I'm
Got
absorbing
you.
and listening to the scenario and the feeling because it may trigger something in me that's like there's a message to
Mm,
tell in this. There's a message. It's a universal message because I feel like everyone experiences the same thing somewhat, which is interesting. I feel like it's just people don't do the work to learn to grow and to
yes.
navigate when it comes back around again because we all were experience the same things.
Right, right. And you mentioned that before about people doing the work. We think because we get with somebody that that's it, I found my person, we're going to say I do, we're going to live happily ever after, but it's you still got to grow as you're together, you
Mm,
know, but the growth should have been a part of your journey prior to you
two
connecting
next
with the
somebody
person.
else. Yep.
Yeah. And so we back to the being unequally yoked. If I'm growing, and then I got to reach backwards because you're refusing to grow, eventually that's not going to work out good.
Yep.
And you're going to have a lot of arguments because one is afraid of change. They're afraid to do the work
The work.
necessary to grow. And we should all get that message because that's a biblical message.
Hmm.
And so, just as well as your musical career is similar because you found it necessary to transition from an opera star to an R&B slash soul singer. What promoted the change?
I originally wanted to be an R&B singer um, when I was younger. My mother had me at 30 years old. She couldn't have children. I was the only child she could go through the process with fully. And because she had me at 30, she grew up in 60, she was born in 64. I grew up listening to the music that she loved and the soul and the funk and the gospel, Tremaine Hawkins, the Clarks. My family was Pentecostal, so I love traditional gospel. That's my favorite. Like Vanessa
Yes.
Bell Armstrong,
Yeah.
oh, let's not, that's another conversation. But
Oh yeah. Look,
right,
look. I
okay,
know, I know.
right. That's the good stuff. But I uh I was discouraged along the way a number of times. Even going to high school, my choir teacher told me I shouldn't sing and I couldn't sing. So I somehow ended up in college as the first person in my family. And in college, music is either classical or jazz.
Okay.
So I somehow ended up in the classical department. I don't think my school did have a jazz department, but they didn't have a jazz vocal department. So I ended up in classical voice and pursued that tunnel vision for 10 years. And then about 3 years ago, the spirit told me to work on an album. And I was confused because I I had never songwritten. It never crossed my mind to even do it again. Like to even I was like, "Oh, this is my journey. I'm supposed to be an opera singer." And so but I
Mm-hmm.
believe in listening. Like a big fear of mine is when the spirit tells me to do something, I listen because I'm scared not to listen. So that became my focus. And I started songwriting. And 3 years later, here we are through faith, basically. I mean, literally through faith. I had to believe that or I did believe it was going to be successful because the Spirit led me to do it. So I felt even there was no
Thank
need
you,
to be afraid.
Jesus. Praise the Lord. Praise the
So
Lord.
yeah.
And your story stands out to me because you recognize that the change was necessary because the Lord spoke to you. You didn't just drum this up, but you're being led by the Lord in this particular direction. Now, I know some people are going to say, God won't call you into
Do
singing
that.
opera or R&B or whatever, but we have to remember Christ is all and in all. One of my favorite scriptures that I like to quote, because wherever we are, God has the ability to reign in that situation. Most of our work is done outside of the four walls of the church. Okay. And so
Mm,
this is how you serve the kingdom with your melodious voice. I listened to a couple of your songs and I like them.
thank you.
And but we all have to recognize when change is necessary. Sometimes God does speak to us. The Holy Spirit will say, I need you to do this. But sometimes he speaks to us through experience. And
Mm,
so when we don't get the desired results in any given area in our lives, it's time to see if we can maximize the potential of that situation by making the applicable changes. Because I know of other people, and even in my own experiences, there were certain things I wanted, but they didn't come about until I made the right changes.
yeah. And I was telling my friend or I was telling someone else yesterday. I know so many people who are religious but have no faith or
Mm.
or don't work. And I was telling, who was I talking to yesterday? I forgot, but I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I said, I tell people all the time, I believe I already have everything I desire in the spiritual realm. It's
Praise the
there.
Lord.
The issue is you live in the physical. God is not in the physical. So if you don't physically work to manifest it into the physical plane, it'll just it's for you already have it,
Yes.
but you haven't materialized it yet, you know, and that's scary. And I think doing the
Mm.
work to materialize is a form of growth, and I think it oftentimes challenges us to go beyond where we think we can go, you know.
Right, right. And James even put it, faith without works is dead. You know,
Okay.
Paul even said, if I have all faith, but the substance thereof does not line up, I'm putting it in my own words in First
Mm,
Corinthians chapter 13. Uh, it's all for nothing. I could say I love everybody, but if I don't put the action to it from my heart,
mm,
then I'm just like a sounding brass cymbal. I'm just making noise. I'm
noise.
sounding loud about my faith, but God does not see the reflection of Christ in it. And this points back to what you talked about basically is growing in the Lord. When you talked about being equally yoked and doing the work necessary, when we don't grow in the Lord, when we don't persevere, when we don't continue on in the things we know that the Holy Spirit has revealed to us, then,
Mm,
like you said, we don't have faith. We won't see what we believe God for in our lifetimes because we didn't do anything with our faith. And like they say, the cemetery is full of the greatest potential that was not manifested, that was
okay,
not
yeah.
made known, that was not proven. People have died with dreams in their hearts. You know, I would at least rather die trying versus not doing it at all, you know. So
Yeah.
that puts the personal responsibility of our faith journey back in our hands, because God could say whatever. What did Jesus say? I couldn't work miracles in Capernaum because they didn't have
Mhm.
faith. So what do you believe in God for now?
I don't know. I feel, I and I feel like maybe this is something I need to work on, but I don't. Okay, I'm believing in God right now to um, guide me to continue to order my steps on this journey. I mean, I fulfilled what the Spirit told me to do, which is
All
create the
right.
album, and I've told people now. I think what's next.
Mm-hmm.
So I think so I just I'm believing in God to surround me with great people, to put me where He wants me to be, not where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
To and just to allow me to have what's meant for me to have. I don't want anything more. I don't want to be in spaces where I'm not supposed to be, and to be blessed enough to continue to make great music that touches people and makes people feel and brings people together and um, yeah, just to do those things.
Beautiful. Now, one of the things I like about music is when people are storytellers in song, um, it causes others to relate to, or shall I say, reaffirm them in their own
Mm-hmm.
journeys to let them know that they're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's one of the benefits of music, because people always ask the question, why do people like music? What makes them connect? Well, you're singing to a blind audience, if you will, blind as in you don't know who exactly you're singing
Really.
to, but they will speak up and let you know, hey, I'm dealing with that. Thank you. You provided me guidance. you know
Mm,
uh I didn't know what to do about this situation, so thank you for the direction. Now I have somewhere to start with. I got a starting point. so
mm.
um so the message has to be clear, and the point I'm trying to get to now is the personal responsibility of the writers and the people who make music, even in the industry, because a lot of people be like, oh, it's entertainment, but there are spirits. The spirit realm is attached to this. Would you expound on that, please?
I believe that 100%. I don't listen to a lot of music. Even in the secular world, I don't listen to profanity. I don't listen to sexual things. I don't uh I mainly listen to music about love, older things about love and joy and I tell people all the time when I set out to make this album when I was led to do it, I did all live instruments because
Mm-hmm.
I there's something about older music that it has a higher vibration to me, and I don't. It's hard to explain in words because it's a feeling. But my goal was to create music that triggers that feeling, that spiritual feeling, and so I definitely think there's something spiritual about music and words. They say words are spells, right? So or yeah, I mean, but spells are bad things. But I mean, what.
I knew.
Words have life and death lives in the tongue. So
Okay.
words are important. You know.
And they are, because even in Matthew chapter 12 verses 35, 36, Jesus said, watch what you say, because you'll be held accountable on the day of judgment, basically meaning that whatever you say is the measurement God is going to use to judge your life by. So if you say one thing, but you're living a whole different thing, there's the judgment he's going to make, and we will be rewarded accordingly.
Lee.
And so I agree that there are, we have to watch basically our responsibility with what we expose ourselves to. Like you said, you don't like to listen to profanity, downgraded downgrading music, that kind of
Mhm.
thing, but things that build people up. And we need that in love, because the world is changing the the definition of love all the more.
It's yeah.
Okay. And it has nothing to do with what the word of God says. And then we want to say, stamp it, Jesus, with your approval.
Mm,
We got to understand that,
that's not the root.
yeah, God is not going to approve what he didn't ordain at the beginning.
You know.
Okay. So we got to be careful of that. But the vibration, I love you brought that word out, because the industry are prolific in this particular area. Like now I have to say, I love the 808 drum. I mean, it just does
I love
something
an
to,
808.
I mean, when back in, I'm Luther Vandross. He had me even with the deep bass guitars,
Listen,
with Marcus
Marcus
Miller
Miller.
and all of them playing.
You
And
okay?
so, oh yeah, well, I wasn't always a Christian. Luther was like, this is my testimony. I was on a
Break it
praise and
down.
worship team at church. So when Luther died, all of the praise and team members called me the day of his funeral.
Mm,
And they're like, I'm calling to see if you're okay. I know Luther's about to be buried. This is the power of God now. I didn't tell them how much of a Luther fan I was.
well,
I didn't pick up the phone and say, I love Luther and blah, blah, blah. I only talked about church music, but they knew from
they picked it
being
up.
with me, right?
Mm,
So all of the praise and worship team members called me that day
wow.
individually to comfort me and console me. They knew I was brokenhearted,
Mm,
and so that my first concert, my mother took me to my first Luther Vandross concert.
wow.
So I was always in love with Luther. He was just such a musical genius and vocal artist, and then his background vocals
I
always
love his.
sang like a different song at the same time he was
Yeah.
singing. And then at the first concert, he even spoke to me in this huge auditorium. God worked it out where our paths ended up at the same point before he went onto stage. And do you know,
Wow.
he even took the time out and said, how are you doing? I'm like, whoa.
Wow.
And that helped me also with my own self-esteem being seen by one of my favorite
Yeah.
artists.
Yeah.
And so the point I'm trying to talk about here is people need to be aware that these sounds are just not calculated, but they are intentional in order to get to the pocket.
Listen.
Okay, listen. And
Okay.
it comes with that vibration that you just brought out, certain keys in music
Certain keys,
attack.
certain. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when they can use that to also filter in their messages, the record industry, you have a whole generation of people going crazy.
Listen, I, people, I just feel like the world today is in disarray. And I think there's a lot of division. And I think, a lot of people, I think music is a big, well, media obviously is a big part of that. But I think the images people are shown and the music that is pumped into youth really can change things from a positive to a negative.
Right. And vice versa. So we have to be mindful of the messages that we're trying to convey and the impact of those messages, because at the end of the day, Jesus is still holding the music arena or the musical genre, all of them, accountable. And we got to remember that Satan was described as the first music minister ever in heaven. And then
Mm,
Ezekiel talks about how he was so beautifully adorned, and alludes to how whenever he moved his body, music pro, pro it came from his body at the movement of his own being.
mm,
And so we have to be mindful. Satan is
well,
still the god of the air, meaning the lower god.
mm,
And so what's the best way he can capture the nations? By sound, by words. People who are not attentive to communication skills, talking, listening, the mode
mm.
in which the message is communicated. What are your thoughts on that?
That's deep. I like that. I never, because my brain has always separated the sound, but communication, I mean, we speak in sound, so that makes sense. Communication, all of it, I guess, falls under communication because music is a form of communication.
Yes, it is. Yes. So,
Well,
yeah. So tell us about heat art.
art, sorry, I should have sent, it's heart. Art.
Oh, it is heart.
Yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
like a play on words. So
Yes.
that album title came to me a few years ago, Art Museum, because I thought if my heart was a museum, these songs would be portraits on the wall.
Beautiful.
And I mean, that just came to me, and then I let it go, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do self titled Travis Hall. And then I met someone who was like, no, that was actually a good name. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go back to it. Um, but yeah, Heart Museum um, is the name of the album. It comes out on October 22nd with a live show if you're in Atlanta at Center Stage. It'll be a 16-piece band. Um,
Mm,
Beautiful music, string section, horn section. Um, and yeah, just a night of good vibrations, positive vibrations and community.
beautiful. Now, where do we get tickets from?
Tickets are on Ticketmaster. You should be able to search my name, Travis Hall, and they should pop up. Grab your tickets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You got to promote yourself. And
Listen,
now, are you an independent artist?
I am independent artist. Everything was funded by me, produced by me, written by me. I did a lot of the arrangements. Yes, it was very difficult. But again, the spirit led me to do it, and I had to figure it out.
Mm,
Regardless, there was no choice. No, it was hard. I tell people it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it is the most rewarding thing that I've ever done in my life.
beautiful, beautiful. And you mentioned basically the word investing yourself into the vision that God has
Mm.
given you. Not Sometimes we have to pull away from everybody else's visions and work on our own. Did you
Own vision.
find you were helping everybody else for a while and you were kind of at a standstill, and then that's when you heard the Lord speak?
Yes, exactly. I really pulled back. Um, it's hard to put into words, but this is the most important thing I've ever done, and it's hard to convey that to people, and it's hard to convey the thought that God has told me to do this. I can't hang out with you. I can't do this. I have to let some relationships go because this is what I was told to do. It's hard. I can't really express it to you. But yeah, Yeah. So yeah, I had to pull back from everybody really, and even from opera. I didn't even audition for anything this year. I was in a master's program during doing the album, and I
Mm.
faced a lot of the faculty being like, "What are you doing? Why aren't you doing the stuff at the school? Why aren't you coming to rehearsal? Why aren't you auditioning for the shows we do?" And it's because I know that that's not in my season. It's my season is this album, and I don't know. It's hard to convey that to people. I don't know. So yeah.
Well, no, you just did an excellent job, and that is a commonality of people who are successful in their own individual callings. They make the sacrifice necessary to focus on what God has given them. And I know other people who have said similar things, authors, other people who have gone to, they had to pull back from everything to focus on, they heard that divine call. And you can't miss the window. Okay. Because now sometimes, but I don't see it very often, if you miss the
Mm.
window, God might bring it back to you, but I'm hearing stories and it's like about 27 or later, years later.
Mm.
If it comes
It
back,
comes back.
if
Mm.
so we have to be willing to trust God. It goes back to faith without works.
Works.
To trust God enough to make the time for the vision in our lives. In fact, the Holy Spirit just reminded me of Abraham and his father.
Mm.
When God called Abraham to leave the land of Ur, well, God actually gave the call to his father to leave their people. But
Mm.
along the way, the father got diverted. His attention was diverted. He was distracted and started settling for the right now. And so the right now became the crucible to his own purpose. So then God
Mm.
flipped it and gave it to
For the
Abraham,
sun.
and he became the father of the Jewish nation as well as the Christian faith. But then those who are Muslim, they lay claim to Abraham through Ishmael's bloodline.
Wow.
And,
Would
and
that go into like a generational curse? So like is that like a generational curse or no? Like Abraham broke or broke the cycle maybe of what his father failed to do, a next generation.
Right. Well, I look at it like that. It's usually one or two generations that tend to
Okay.
break the curse of the previous generation. But also, I've noticed that, and a lot of pastors or preachers and teachers are not going to agree with what I say now, but I believe that a
Mm.
generational curse, because we are up under grace and truth, that a generational curse is something that is a learned behavior
Mm.
that leads to the destruction of the bloodline. So here's a clear example.
Mm.
Thank you for the question. Clear example. Uh, uh, it's hard for somebody to think what is that something is wrong when they've been taught that it's right. To make it more plain, I did jail ministry for like 36 years, 35, 36 years. It was a
Well.
long time. So there was nothing wrong. I mean, it's not unusual. You could go to any jail. You're going to see generations of the same family in the jail because grandmother thought it was okay to, I'll use a common thing, to sell food stamps. That's a crime.
Mm.
She sold food stamps for whatever her reason was. Well, her children picked up the habit, but they taught it to their children. Now all three generations are locked up at the same time
Um,
because grandma said, "This is how we get by." She didn't focus on the law. The law's still going to hold you accountable.
accountable.
Okay. And then the children learned that, hey, I'm going to sell food stamps because we don't have enough money to pay our electric bill. We got housing assistance, but they don't give us money for the light bill. So, would you like to buy some food stamps so that I can pay my light bill? I'm not going to sell all of them because I still got to eat.
Eat.
Okay. And then the grandchildren learned this practice, but they're all breaking the law. So they all just happen to get caught up at the same time and they're in the jail. So that's the a
Hmm.
common thing that I see, but it's a generational curse because grandma taught it, the children learned it, and then they taught it
Mm.
to their children. And so now all the children, all the whole family locked up at the same time,
Time
and the people on the outside don't have enough money to get anybody out. Then they lose everything.
thing. Yeah.
Kids go to defects. They lose housing, they lose jobs, if they got one. But
Mm.
usually, if they're working jobs that don't pay enough, they're going to need public assistance, so on and so forth. That's just the easy thing,
Mm.
a easy example for me to give. So, but some pastors teach there's no such thing as a curse,
Mm.
so there are some that teach that's Old Testament, we're under grace and
Oh
truth.
yeah, the new yeah.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about that. But but that's why I say I think that family curse or the generational curse is learned behavior.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's like a curse, like a curse.
Right. Like the
You
like
know.
TV and all these
Yeah, I don't think it's like a
movies are
curse. Yeah.
teaching now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like grandmother drink, I drink, we drink, we all are alcoholics now,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
things like that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree.
Beautiful. So the Heart Museum, what are some of your favorite songs on it? Because you know how writers are. They write. I'm a writer too, so that's why I know.
Ooh.
So they write, and they're like, "That's it. This is the hit." Because it
Yeah.
touched you in a special way because you
When
wrote it. So,
mm,
which are some of your favorite songs on the Heart Museum?
my favorites are Fireflies, my second single. I love my writing in that. I still can picture me writing it where I
Wow.
was when I wrote it. I love Fireflies. I love Memories is one of my favorites. You didn't get to hear that yet, but Memories is my favorite, one of my favorites. And I also love A Day, my lead single, is also one of my favorites. Um, it's a lot of people compare it to Earth, Wind, and Fire. My music's also kind of jazz,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
jazz, kind of, yeah. So I get a little bit of everything in there. But yeah, those are my favorites.
And I heard a little bit of Luther in there too. So
Luther,
yeah,
that honors me so because
I heard it. I mean, if you're a Luther fan, you're gonna hear it.
thank
So
you. I love Luther so much, and I love how he made a lot of love songs, and he brought a lot of people together.
yes, he did.
He did. He really did, and I hope my music does that. I hope that's my legacy. Bringing people together in a world that's so divided now, extremely divided now. I feel like men against women. It's like everybody is against everybody. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And we
yeah.
need that. We need that. And I'm glad that you found your niche, which is love songs in the relationship of love. And other people, they'll have other types of songs, whether they're political or spiritual or
Hmm.
whatever. But God, He wants us to honor Him in the songs that we sing. And and if they fall short, well, there are consequences to that. I
Yeah.
really find it devastating that some writers don't see anything about promoting messages about suicide or adultery, things that cause you to sin. And they think,
Mm,
oh, it's just entertainment. No,
no, no, it's
no.
not.
Some impressionable mind is listening,
Yeah. And
and
children
there,
are impressionable.
but I'm not even talking about the kids, but you're right, the
Oh, she
children
said,
are.
oh, she said the other ones too.
Yeah, it's a lot of adults. And I know we're getting close to the end of our show, but and it seems like I'm doing a lot of the talking. I hope that I'm giving you enough space to say what you want to
Oh, yeah,
say.
yeah,
But
yeah, 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 you are. You are.
okay. One other point I want to make is the parental responsibility that is so often neglected is teaching our children how to think, how to process information. And when we neglect that divine responsibility, our kids are subject to anything.
To
And so
anything.
unfortunately, a lot of it comes through music or the friends at school or the people on the corner or at the club. They're finding their
Mm-mm.
definition in everything except from their families. And we
Yeah.
have to be mindful of that. If you have children, all of you in the church biz audience, grandchildren, be mindful of how you communicate with them because you are help shaping and grooming them. Recognize people who don't know how to think. And if the Lord leads you,
Mm.
help teach them, but they have to be willing. They have to be willing
Listen,
students.
you can't force.
Yeah, you can't force, just like you can't force a relationship on somebody. You might love them, but they might not feel the
Listen.
same about you. And that's a stage of love. How do you deal with rejection? It doesn't mean go kill up the whole household just
Listen.
because you got rejected. I raised my kids to know, look,
Mm.
breaking up is a normal part of a relationship. You don't
It's a
go
risk
back
you take.
fight. Yeah, it's a risk. And you don't go and fight people. You don't kill them. You don't kill yourself. You learn how to deal with the heartache, the grief, because relationships do die sometimes. And you go through the stages of grief,
Grief. That's a word.
because it's the death of something that you love, but you figure out how to get through it. And if you can't,
Mm.
go get help. That's why you got your pastors, your leaders, family members who've been through it. They can help you, but even take time to learn how you process. You are subliminally developing coping skills on how to
Mm.
survive a broken relationship. So don't give up on you or anybody else. It's life.
It's normal.
It's normal. It's normal. I like that. It's normal. Breaking up is normal, you know, until you find the one that God has ordained for
Thing
you.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're out
So
there.
I like that. They're out there. You just
They
got to wait
are.
your turn. You can't force it. You can't make a relationship knowing you're in lack, trying to make them meet your needs, because then you cause them to be idol gods and take God's place.
Hmm.
Mm. People they don't know.
Okay.
They don't know. So, what are some of your parting words, Travis? We only have 6 minutes left.
I would say, ooh, what are my parting words? I tend to be wordy, so I don't know. My parting words are listen to the spirit. I think so many people don't do that. Listen to the spirit. Um, Act on what the spirit tells you to do. Do the work to manifest your dreams and gifts. I meet people all the time and I get frustrated because I look at them and I'm like, you're so gifted. you have so much in you, but you're just spinning around in circles. You're not doing the work, and that frustrates me. And so I would say do the work, follow the spirit, cultivate your relationship with God, whatever that means for you, and flourish. Go forward and flourish.
Beautiful. And you mentioned something that reminded me of the word fear. So many people are afraid to change what they have to do or what they need to in order to do the things to cause what God called them to bring into fruition to
Mm,
happen. And so the distractions, those are distractions that they have. They're so into the distraction and afraid that they're going to
mm.
lose. You're still going to lose something.
And okay, and that's the deep part. You still gonna lose something.
So you can't prevent that which you're afraid of losing. So you're either going to lose missing out on a few good times in order to make what you really want to happen. In fact, let me read this statement that's on my wall. I have it before me because
Mm.
this is how I encourage myself. Like David encouraged himself. I just had to look at these the other day. It says the successful delay gratification, or they make sacrifices in the short term in order to achieve long term goals. Here's another one. Future intent influences and often determines present actions. There is
Mm.
never enough time to do everything, but there is always time to do the most important thing. The things that matter most must never be at the mercy of things that matter least. And I must know when to say no
Mm.
because I have no spare time.
Wow.
And so I thank you, Travis, for being here on Church Biz. Can you tell us about the Heart Museum debut, your debut concert album release again, and where we can get your album, the Heart Museum, all of that good stuff?
Yes, please, please grab your tickets to my album release show of the Heart Museum it'll be Wednesday, October 22nd. It'll be a 16-piece band with strings, horns, and background singers. And you may get your tickets on Ticketmaster. They are on sale right now for a limited time. Get those tickets. And you may follow me also on socials at Travis Hall Music. There you may purchase an album, stay abreast of the things that I'm doing, and all the things. Yes.
Beautiful. And he's on Facebook, everybody. So you could follow
Yeah, I
him
love
there
Facebook.
too. Yeah,
Please,
yeah.
please.
Yeah. So you don't have to have a plethora of social media platforms in order to follow Travis, but Instagram is cool because you get the latest, and I love Facebook too. So, but anyway, again, thank you for being a part of today's show and talking about the Heart Museum. Everybody in the Church Biz audience and the WCEG Digital Media Enterprise community. Again, this is Travis Hall. Support him. He's doing great and mighty things. He's being
Thank
led
you.
of the Spirit in his call of being an R&B slash soul singer, a professional opera star. Follow him. You all don't listen to gospel music 100 hours a day like I do because I hear your music. So follow him. It's okay. It's okay. God already knew before we knew what you were going to be listening to.
Okay.
But I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, Travis, thank you for being a guest on our show today. And
Thank
may
you.
God bless all of your efforts. And like I always tell everybody, take care of you. Take care of you. God
Mm.
bless.
God bless.